Do you ever just look at someone and think, how in the world does that person get so much done? Well, hey, that is what we're going to talk about on this week's episode of the Web Design MBA podcast. So great to be back with you. I just got back into town off of a about a week and a half long tour playing some music. And so I'm excited to sort of be back in the saddle here and keep things rolling here on the podcast. So, productivity. This is easily one of my favorite subjects because there's a lot of layers here, a lot of things to unpack, and frankly, just a lot of ideas that I have that I've learned from others or thought of on my own and then implemented over the years that I think I can pass on to you. Maybe some of these things you're already doing, maybe some you've heard before, maybe some you've never heard before, maybe some you've never even thought of. And so I hope that you could take away at least one thing. I'm actually going to give you 10 things. And I'm hoping that from this episode, you could take away at least one thing that you didn't know about before. That you could implement into your daily routine to make you more productive as a web designer, as an entrepreneur, agency owner, etc. And some of these suggestions that I'm going to have for you are not things that you would maybe traditionally think about as productivity. And so, a very helpful and important reframe is that productivity is not only the art of doing things more efficiently, it is partly that. But it's also the science of doing more right things and less wrong things. Okay, so there's actually two pieces of it. There's the art of doing more things efficiently, but then there's the science of how to actually do more of the right things and less of the wrong things. And this is the lesson that really every business owner needs to learn and needs to take to heart. And I think a healthy balance of both the art and the science are going to be useful to you in terms of your productivity. So, with that in mind, and in no particular order, here are some of the hacks and different methods and tools that have worked for me to help be more productive than ever at this stage of the game in my business. First thing, we're going to start sort of light and simple here, is listening to soundscapes for focus. Now, notice I did not say listening to music for focus. I didn't say watching TV for focus or any number of other things. Now, I realize that people are different. And so there may be things that work for you that don't work for me in terms of this, and that's fine. Um, I know of many others who use different methods. For me, I use soundscapes to help me focus on what I'm working on during the day. And there's some paid tools that you can use for this that I actually do use. One of them is called Endel, Endel, and it creates these scientifically backed soundscapes for you for the different sort of things that you may want to do throughout the day. I particularly like to use it when I take a nap. By the way, a nap is a productivity hack that I didn't even put on this list. I had a feeling it would bloat as I started talking about it, but naps are a huge productivity boost. I take a nap almost every single workday. 30-minute nap, power nap, not long enough to get into a full sleep cycle. And I listen to a soundscape when I nap. It helps me get into that zone and helps me to feel more rested. But I listen to soundscapes while I'm working. And I love to go on YouTube and find, oh gosh, there's all kinds of different ones. I really love the Harry Potter ones. I love the Halo ones, like the Halo video game. There's some Jurassic Park ones and Jurassic World ones that are pretty good. There's some Disney ones I like. And so you can listen to sort of these themed soundscapes, or you can get some that are not necessarily themed. They're just geared towards particular things like sleep or focus or whatever. And so, anyway, that's one of the soundscapes that I use to do what I do more efficiently. Like once I've landed on the right things that I need to be doing for a particular day, it really helps me to get through the day, to stay focused by listening to soundscapes. Because if you're like me, your brain can just trail off in a zillion directions. And for some reason, for me, the soundscapes really help me to actually keep that focus up. Okay, what's another one? Another one is creating checklists. Now, again, this is one that it's like, well, this is kind of could go a little bit into the art and the science, okay? You can certainly create checklists for yourself to make life go more efficiently for you. In other words, if I can start the day with a checklist just of things to do, and I know that as long as I get those things done, I've had a successful day, then that'll work. One problem that you have with that is that checklists don't really help you with your time commitment. Okay. Um, an item on a checklist doesn't really have much to say about how long it should take or it could take. And that's going to get into my third suggestion, so I won't go any further on that. But there's another way that you can utilize checklists more towards the science of making sure that you're doing more of the right things and less of the wrong things. And that is by in your delegation processes when you're working with team members or fulfillment partners or anything like that, creating SOPs and checklists that these partners and employees or contractors can use to do repeatable things that you want done in a consistent manner in your business. They can handle those items and get it off of your plate, which means you can focus on higher leverage activities. So checklists are a great simple way to start creating standard operating procedures or SOPs that will allow your business to start scaling by getting others to do the lower impact work so that you can focus on the higher impact work. Number 3 goes into uh, using time blocking. Now, time blocking is a particular skill that I've tried very unsuccessfully throughout the years until I added one little adjective to the word time blocking, which is automatic. Okay, so this is using automatic time blocking software. Now, there's lots of these out there. The one that I am using right now, because it's simple, but yet, like, it also has lots of complexity that you can tap into, but you don't have to. And the user interface is really great and it doesn't make it like cumbersome. It's called Flow Savvy, and I will get no kickback for recommending them. I don't even think they have a affiliate program or anything, but just go to flowsavvy.app and check this thing out. You may totally fall in love with it. I have definitely fallen in love with it because I have a tendency, and this is just a personal problem that I have a tendency to confuse the real work. Maybe some of you are like this. You only feel like you're really working if you're doing like actual hands-on design or development work. If you're doing writing or social media posting or creating a graphic or doing, YouTube or something like that. My brain, for some reason, tells me that that's not work. Probably because it's stuff I enjoy doing, and so I'm, trying to punish myself, right? That's not the reality, though. That stuff is the work. And so when you decide what's important ahead of time, and it's like having an assistant that just tells you what you're supposed to do for the day, and then you just do it. And oh gosh, I could go into a whole thing on this. I actually wrote a Substack post about this recently, so go check that out, and I get into some of this stuff. I tell you all about how I'm using Flow Savvy, but it's really great because it tells you when you're overcommitted. It reschedules things for you. If your schedule shifts around, you need to take a whole day off. Something came up, or you need to work on something right now that came up that's very important. It totally adjusts your entire schedule around so that you always have time to get in the things that are the most important, and you can see when you're overcommitted. You can see when you're spending too much time doing the wrong things instead of the right things. So I'm going to highly recommend that you start using automatic time blocking software. It's been a huge productivity hack for me that I don't know if I will ever go back to just a normal checklist or regular old time blocking or what. I just really don't think I will, because it's so great to see the different things that you have to do getting done over time. And you can even set those priorities. It's the only software I've ever used that makes priority indications actually meaningful in terms of like how it actually schedules things for you. So you've got due ASAP, you've got high priority, normal priority, and low priority. And so my days are automatically organized according to what needs to be done. And when I say my days, I mean my weeks and my months. It's all automatically organized according to what needs to be done. They've got a robust repeating task mechanism. They've got dependencies built in. I mean, a little bit of everything. So if you struggle with getting stuff on the calendar and the get up and go, and you wish you just had an assistant to do that for you, but don't want to pay an assistant, trust me, check out Flow Savvy. It's going to change the game for you, I think. Okay, number 4. So, I was at church the other day, and um, I had a buddy come up and ask me. I was actually working on my drum set there at church, and I had a buddy who was working on doing some, I think bookshelves is what he was working on. We're in the middle of some changes and stuff at church, and so he came up and asked me because I had been out for a week and a half, on this tour. Um, he said, "Do you have passive income in your business?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, that really depends on how you define passive income." And he's like, "Well, just, you can make money while not having to do all the work." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, in that sense, of course, I have passive income." And the reason for that passive income is number 4, which is hiring early. I hired in my business earlier than a lot of other people would recommend that you actually hire. I hired before it maybe financially would have made sense. And so I have been working with a team for many years now and am experienced with that. And trust me, there's been lots of ups and downs. There have been times when I've had to do more of the work, times when I've been able to hand off nearly all of the work, and everything in between. Regardless, the best way in your business to actually start doing more of the right things, less of the wrong things, and create passive income is to start working with contractors, subcontractors, if you want to call them that, as soon as possible. I mean, as soon as possible. And I think there are many others who have taken that path who are listening to this podcast right now who would say amen and back me up big time right here. Once you learn how to work with a team and utilize the efficiency that comes along with that scale, it changes everything for you. Yes, it takes money. It completely takes money. But I would venture to guess that you could actually start doing this sooner than you think. And I'm not going to go further into that because I don't want the whole podcast episode to become about that. But go check out Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. And he gives you a very practical formula right there in that book. I mean, it's one of the best books I've ever read, so it's got a lot in there. But among all the awesome things it has a very practical formula for knowing how much you can afford to hire right now. So go check out that book, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and go out there and start scaling your business higher. I'm just going to highly recommend that for pretty much everybody, unless you just truly don't want to do that. If you don't want to do that, well, that's fine. Just realize that there are going to be limits on your business that others don't have because of that. And if you want to live within those limits, that's totally fine. 100% your prerogative. For the rest of you, I recommend hiring early and starting to flex your muscles working with a team. Okay, the next evolution of that is number 5, which is delegating outcomes. Now, this is a extreme productivity hack, okay? Because let's say, let me illustrate the difference this way. One of my first hires was a project manager. Brian is my project manager. Man, I could not have asked for a better project manager. He is fantastic. He knows how to keep the trains running on time. Now, when I first started with him, I delegated tasks to him, specific things that he was supposed to do. Now, he gets entire outcomes delegated to him. An outcome, by the way, would be to ensure a successful completion of a project on time and within budget, right? That's an outcome that I can delegate to him that he can make sure happens. Now, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, and we have to adjust and learn and all of that, okay? But rather than delegating tasks, hey, do this, hey, do that, where you have to do a lot of the hands-on stuff and a lot of the follow-up. If you instead start delegating outcomes, then you simply have to check in at the beginning, make sure you have clear instructions, make sure they know what a successful outcome looks like, make sure they know what a failed outcome looks like, and then come in again at the end of the process to make sure that the outcome obtained how it was supposed to. That's going to revolutionize the time that you spend. Now, I will say that it's easier to do this when you have done one of two things, okay? You can either hire high-skill people who already know how to make those outcomes happen, or you can hire low-skill people, be very in-depth with your checklists and standard operating procedures to where you're managing the process and not so much the person, okay? So you can do it with either high-skill or low-skill people, but the more low-skill they are, the more that you will have to actually make up for that with checklists and processes, making sure that all the expectations are being hit in the way that you want them to be. Okay. All right. The next way to increase your productivity is with long form writing. Now, this may seem counterintuitive, but let me give you an idea of the difference. Okay. I have not mastered this idea of 15-minute Zoom calls. um, right. And so, some people can like zoom through these meetings, no pun intended. Not me. If I put a meeting on the calendar for 15 or 30 minutes, it's probably going to inflate to an hour anyway. Not that I want it to, but it's probably going to. We like to shoot the breeze, we like to have fun, etc. Okay, so if I could spend 15 to 20 minutes instead writing up in great detail what I want to happen, and then I send that to a person, and rather than having to coordinate schedules, they can read it at a time that is better for them. They can digest the information, and then they can take action on that information within the reasonable time frame that I set. Then that is going to be a way more efficient way of doing things. And so in my business, we have an expectation of writing to explain things, for to-do lists, things of that nature. Okay. So we do a lot of writing in our business, and you have to be a good writer. You're just not gonna last very long in our company if you're not a good writer, because that's how we communicate. And we do Loom videos and stuff like that too, but we have almost no real-time meetings other than with clients. And even with clients, we try to, do long form writing with them as much as possible as well. And it ends up being very efficient. You, you know, there's different opinions on this. And on my opinion, is you should be able to do your best work. And it's really hard for people to do their best work when they're constantly interrupted with meetings. Yes, sometimes some topics make more sense to be discussed over a meeting. Lots of times, long form writing just gets it done. So that works well for us. That's a productivity hack that most people don't even think of. But 15 minutes writing is almost always better than an hour-long meeting. Okay, here's number 7. Focus modes, right? If you have an iPhone, and I'm sure Androids do this now too, but on an iPhone at least, we have different focus modes. And so people are very shocked that I don't get bombarded with notifications throughout the day. I have my phone set on right now. I've been experimenting with and really loving the reduce interruptions focus mode. And that's sort of a automated Siri intelligence function on iPhones that allows the software to make a determination of when it thinks something is high enough priority to push that notification through versus when it's just going to not notify you. And 9 times out of 10, I don't need to be notified about whatever the notification is. And so I have notifications turned off by default on many things. On the things I do have notifications turned on, it's very rare that I actually need something in real time. And so all throughout the workday, I have notifications turned off. And that helps me very, very much. Now you say, Steve, well, what about email? What about email? Doesn't that, isn't that something you want to be notified about immediately? No, absolutely not. In fact, that is number 8. Number 8 productivity hack is I check email once per day. I have created that expectation with clients. I do let clients know a couple of things. If I'm away and I have an away autoresponder on, I give them my business phone number and they can text me in case of an emergency. So my clients are trained, frankly, to know that they can text me in the case of something that is very important. Otherwise, it could be up to 24 hours or so on a normal basis before they hear from me. In my email signature, I have a little line there that says 2 things. Number 1, it says, hey, just so you know, in order to stay productive, I check my email once every day around 4 p.m. And also it says you can reach out to my project manager, Brian, if you need faster assistance. So I give them options and let them know. And again, most of my clients know that they can text me if they need me in the case of an emergency to get to me faster. So I check email once per day. I do not have notifications on my email at all. I actually use software called Hey that allows me to set notifications on a per thread, per sender, or per domain basis. So I'll set it to where I get notifications for certain things, email notifications, and most things I do not. Okay, number 9 is this is kind of a difficult one to put into easy words, and so I just used complicated words. But it's a systemization opportunity awareness. Okay, in other words, you're just looking out for opportunities to streamline things. And the more aware that you stay of what you and your team are doing on a daily basis, the more opportunities you see to systematize things. I'll give you an example. Just today, a situation happened where I noticed that. Let me just explain the situation. I think that this will be real practical for you. Okay, so we have sort of two different ways of staying on top of monthly maintenance for websites. Okay, we have what we think of as low productivity websites or low availability websites and high productivity or high availability websites. Okay. And so low availability websites are generally going to be those who it's just a brochure for their business or something like that. Like if it goes down as a result of an update that happens or something like that, for the most part, as long as the website is back up within a few hours, we can be good. So there's low risk in keeping these websites up to date, using more automated processes, doing less manual checkup on them, etc. And then we have other websites that fall into this more high availability category. These are websites that are e-commerce, or there's some very important element of business that gets transacted and it can only happen on their website, or they're a high traffic website, or they host a podcast or something like that. For these websites, we are more careful with the update process. We don't put it on an automated process. We have a manual process for that. Depending on how the complexity of the site is, sometimes we even do we'll actually create a staging site and test the updates on the staging site first and then run them on the live site, and we'll have the customer check. There's a whole process around this, okay? But not every piece of the process is fully systematized yet. And so this morning we had a scenario where a client reached out and said, "Hey, I haven't seen any updates done in a while on the website. Just wanted to make sure that everything was okay." And my project manager got back to her almost immediately with yes, yep, and he basically explained to her what I just explained to you, about, hey, we do random spot checks on on particular pages to make sure it's okay. We do a manual monthly update process, etc. And he was like, going forward in the future, I'll make sure to keep you updated on that each time the update happens. Well, I just realized that for all the other things that were a part of the process, actually updating the client that the website updates had been completed is not, strictly speaking, part of the official SOP. It's not a part of the official process, but it should be, because the client should never be reaching out wondering where something stands. Okay, and so because of the way that WordPress update timing works and all of those sort of things, it may be a scenario where, man, right after we run updates, 5 updates might become available the next day, and so it might be a month or so before those next batch of updates actually get done. And so we need to be very communicative with clients on when things are happening. And so that's something I'm going to add to the process. And that was just purely systemization opportunity awareness. Okay. That's going to be a area of our business where that's going to be systematized more thoroughly in the future. It's going to lead to better customer service, which is ultimately marketing. Okay. And marketing creates more customers, and it is a whole virtuous cycle that leads to more business and therefore more productivity, because we're getting more work. We have more money. We can spend more on, more workers, etc. Okay. So awareness of opportunities to systematize processes, either for you or the people who work for you. And then 10th and finally, productivity hack. This one is, again, we started simple and we're going to end simple. Reading about productivity. I know a lot of people who wish they were more productive, but they won't pick up a book to learn how to become more productive. And I simply think that that's weird. If you want to learn how to be more productive, pick up a book, read about productivity, listen to an audiobook if you're more of that type. A couple of great productivity books I've read over the years. Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt is an excellent one. Who Not How is an excellent productivity book. It's not labeled as a productivity book, but I would say it's a productivity book in disguise. 10x is greater than 2x. That's a great productivity book in disguise. Both of those are by Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Dan Martell's book, like I mentioned earlier, Buy Back Your Time, fantastic productivity book. And so there's lots of these out there, and I recommend that you get your hands on some if you want to learn more about how to be more productive and get more done. All right, well, that's going to be it for this episode. Again, I'm going to invite you, go to webdesignmba.substack.com, and that's where you can find a lot of the writing that I'm doing. I got a great paid issue coming out this week. I'm really excited about on how to actually create systems and processes for marketing in your niche business. So definitely go check that out. You can actually, there's a little thing on there where you can claim one free post, or one paid post as free on the Substack. So please go do that on this one. I think you're going to find it very useful, very beneficial. Okay. God bless you guys. Take care. We'll see you in the next one, and have a great week.